Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have John St. James. He is an internationally certified life coach, leadership expert, 45 years of experience in this field. Welcome to the show, John.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, John. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about mastering leadership for personal success. But before we come to this, John, let me understand for the audience a bit about your journey 45 years of experience plus 45 plus years of experience. There is so much to learn from your journey itself. Your life is a message in itself about leadership success, about so many other things in terms of speaking, in terms of understanding about personal and professional development.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm happy to share. Yeah, so I have been absolutely doing leadership training for 45 years. I am an internationally certified coach, mentor, and speaker with the John Maxwell team here in the United States, but I do speaking all over the world. I actually was in Canada just, my gosh, 3 weeks ago doing a leadership seminar. So I do leadership seminars and I speak on all topics having to do with leadership. Couple things of interest with myself is I am a probably one of 100 or less people in the United States that hold a ninth degree black belt. So I am a martial artist. It's my heart. It's what I've been doing for 50 years. I actually oversee an international martial arts organization. I'm their president and grandmaster, which just means I'm an old guy. But all kidding aside, I've been doing that for a long time. And as part of that, I help business owners to develop leadership academies to help teach men, women, and children leadership training. I have a book, best-selling book that's available through Amazon. It's called The Master's Path: How to Intentionally Create Happiness, Joy, and Fulfillment in Your Life. And so, yeah, I'm very, very active in helping to teach, coach, and mentor others in leadership training.
Absolutely, absolutely, John. So to understand this leadership sort of a thing better in today's time, why there is so much, if you know, available in terms of leadership for them to do and to make others' lives better and also their life better, why is it that leadership itself is in question in today's time? Be it the great resignation, be it the quiet quitting, be it the leadership crisis in organizations. We are talking of toxic workplaces, and even on the personal front, a lot of people of this, are not being so happy as they would have wanted to. Why is it so that leaders themselves are in crisis? The whole term leadership itself seems to be in crisis. Help us understand what is going on. Where are we going in terms of leadership? Or is it that the wrong people are getting into leadership and the right people are not getting into those roles?
Yeah. I think actually, AJ, it's a little bit of everything you've just said. I think there is, unfortunately, there is a lack of strong leadership. Certainly not across the board, right? So there are people that demonstrate every day leadership, and obviously it starts with us, right? The leader, really, any leader has to be the first. We talk about the first to go, the first to set the example, the first to show. We have a little saying, know the way, go the way, and show the way. So having said that, I would say, in my personal opinion, there is a fairly sizable void of leadership today, and we see that in politics. We see that across the board with some of the corporations and how they're mistreating people. Unfortunately, it comes down to a lack of character. And so
Right.
one of the things that I like to do when I teach leadership training is I like to start with the individual because it all starts with us. And so we talk about making one's life a masterpiece. So we're all on a journey. We're all on a life journey. You and I are on a life journey. And we have an opportunity. We have a choice to make it something that's great. And the way we do that is we start on this path. I call it the master's path, which is divided into 6 steps, or if you prefer, 3 phases. And they are learn and grow, share and serve, and lead and inspire. So, very quickly, if you look at all of this, it comes down to our knowledge, our attitude, our skill sets, and our habits. And of course, our
Right.
character is a big part of our habits. And so great leaders are in the habit of leading from the front, of demonstrating by example the very things that they preach about. So, it's like the old saying, I'm sure you heard it growing up too. It's not what you say, it's what you do. You,
Right.
if you really want to know somebody, all you have to do is watch their actions because actions do speak louder than words. So, this whole idea of leadership comes down to this. Our goal in life to create a masterpiece is to serve, right? I
Right.
fully believe this, that, you get much more in life by giving than you do by taking. So, having said that, as a leader, we go through these different phases. The memory stage, which is learn and grow, phase one, we're learning, we're gaining knowledge, right? We're gaining a particular awareness or attitude of how we see the world. We're gaining skill sets and we're gaining habits. But in phase two, where we serve and share, or share and serve if you prefer, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we start to work with people and actually start to share our knowledge, our attitude, our skill sets, and habits. And it's here where we start to make a difference in the lives of others. We call this the practical application stage. And then finally, when we've done this long enough, and we've developed our knowledge, our attitude, skill sets, and habits, we now have what I call, the spiritual gift of the artist. This is where we share our core genius, our superpowers with as many people as we possibly can, serving at the highest level, and again, demonstrating the character that's required to be a leader. And it's got nothing to do with titles, nothing to do with all of that. But having attained, I will mention, having attained a ninth degree black belt, all of
Right.
these things were required of me as I was going through this process to create this masterpiece. So I hope that explained a bit.
Yes, yes, it does explain. See, you have a black belt, and that shows you put yourself a lot of under rigors of things, and then you learn all those things. But at
That's
the
right.
same time, you have a soft heart, and you are doing a lot for children. You are a part of a non-profit that helps at risk and disadvantaged children and adults learn the important life skills necessary for happiness and fulfillment. You have balanced it well. How Let's look at the leaders. When we talk about leaders, a lot of time their eyes are only on the bottom line. And when you talk about that helps others succeed, perhaps they are only talking about promoters. They forget the other people who they should help and succeed. So my question here is, you talk a lot about this personal and professional growth. Can leaders hope to look at both the things, their own personal and professional growth as well as others at the same time? All these things, can they go hand in hand in today's time?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, there's a great Japanese term called shoshin, which just simply means the beginner's mindset. So, the greatest leaders are lifelong learners. You know this, AJ. That we always say the best leaders are great readers. They're always learning. So we're always in this beginner's mindset. We're always in phase one. Phase one, learn and grow. Having said that, as we've been doing something longer and longer, of course, repetition being the mother of learning, right? Rinse and repeat. The more we do something, the better we get at it. So what ends up happening is as we become better leaders, right? Now we're able to share and serve at a higher level. And the longer we do that, and the more we start to develop what I call your core genius, your spiritual gift of the artist, whatever that one thing is that you do so well, when you share that with as many people as possible, obviously you're helping to develop them. You're helping them to grow. And so that's really where happiness, joy, and fulfillment come in. Because you know, and I know that we do much better in life when we're sharing our gifts rather than trying to take things and focus just on ourselves. So that's why I call it the master's path, because anybody that's on this path understands that you're a lifelong learner. You're always learning new things. A great example quickly of this is, although I've been speaking for years and years, I didn't recently, I mean, recently within the last couple of years, I started doing podcasts, but it was
Right.
all new technology to me. But what a wonderful way for us to share our knowledge, our attitudes, skill sets, and habits. And what a wonderful thing you're doing as well to get it out to as many people as possible. So thank you. Thank you for what you're doing.
And thank you for what you are doing. You are impacting a lot of lives, John. And to understand now this topic a bit better, is that, where does this discord happen? If everything can go hand in hand so well, where does the discord happen? Rather, you talk about masters. Is it because they are not masters and rather imposters? Where does the discord happen? Help us understand. Is it self creation? I assume, as they say, everyone is a good person. They are all good person, good people, good at heart, good thinking for the world. They want to change the world. But then where does the problem start happening?
Yeah, no, this is wonderful and a great question. Personally, my point of view on this is that yes, everybody wants to do well. Everybody would like to do well. But the difference between those who want to do well and those who do well, the most successful people on this planet have success habits. They live by those habits every day. And days, as we know, become weeks, become months, become years. And so I talked earlier about the repetition being the mother of learning. The more we do something, the better we get. And I think in today's world, just to be brutally honest, there's this instant gratification. I want it now. I want to be entertained now. I want to have the title now. The truth is it takes a while to become great at something. I tell my students, anything worthwhile takes a while. Everything that we want is uphill, right?
Right.
So the master's path is about staying on the path and demonstrating the consistency and the perseverance um, that builds inner strength. It builds inner strength. What you may be familiar with Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris received his black belt from the same person that I received my black belt from. We teach. We're part of the same system, the same style, and Chuck Norris is a great example of this. If you're familiar with him, everybody told him he couldn't be a world champion. And actually, I know because I spoke to his instructor, who was my instructor. He said,
Right.
oh, Chuck Norris came way before me. He said, Chuck Norris wasn't that great in class. He used to get beat up quite a bit. But what Chuck Norris was my best student. And that
Right.
means he came in early, he stayed late, he gave 100% of his effort, and he did it long enough. See, a lot of people thought he got the world championship in the early 70s just because he was so talented. He may have gone to 30 or 40 tournaments before he won his first award, his first gold medal or first trophy. So the truth is most people don't stick with things long enough. John Maxwell, one of my great mentors, says, um, everybody starts, but few finish, and even fewer finish well. And what we mean
Right.
by this is everybody starts something, but very, very few people will stay with it long enough to become great. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed, John. And so, in terms of, success, a lot of people want to define success their way. How do you define uh, lasting success that you talk about, John? What is lasting success? Is it that most of us look at, temporary success and not lasting success? Are those two different things? How should we look at this, especially leaders? How should they look at these things?
AJ, you ask great questions. And what I would say, my personal opinion on this, is the way to create any legacy is to help others to develop to their fullest potential. And so you leave a legacy. You always leave something in better shape than you found it. So we have a couple things. One, it takes a lot of legs to create a legacy. So if you really want
Right.
to create a legacy, you have to be good at building teams. You've got not only to apprentice with the right mentors, you've got to actually be able to develop the team that's going to help you to create the legacy, because one person can only do so much. If you look at great people, people of great success, they're very good at building teams. They're very good at motivating others to want to buy into. Okay, John Maxwell calls this the law of the buy-in. Really, it's the law of influence. Leadership is really nothing more than influence. If you can influence enough people to believe in what you are trying to do to help them, not you, to help them, there's the key, you will develop a great team over time. Now, that does lead to success. But here's what I know: you have no success unless you develop a successor. So at
Right.
the end of the day, we're all on a path, and that path is finite. We're going to come to a point in time where we're no
Right.
longer on the path. So
Right.
so what ends up happening is our success in creating a legacy is all about finding people to help you build whatever it is that you're trying to build, and then find the right people for the future, the leaders of the future, and develop them to the best of your ability. And that's what I have been able to do, both with my for-profit organization, my non-for-profit public charity. All of these things were developing the right people to help me, which the term I know you're familiar with is the mastermind, the group of
Right.
people, whether it's your board of directors, whether it's your closest inner circle of advisors. But this is what it takes to succeed in life. Again, building teams. Together, everybody achieves more. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Wonderful. Wonderful, John. Now, you talked about success. You talked about legacy.
Yes.
Who defines these things for you? Success, should your friends define it? Should your family decide it for you? Or should you decide? Because everyone's looking at your success is totally different, but they influence your legacy. Who should define? Because your success, your work will define your legacy.
Right.
How should you look at your success, your legacy, with so many permutation combinations in terms of friends, family, society, relationships? How should one look at these things?
So, we getting back to the reason for creating the masterpiece, which is you. You're the masterpiece. Your life's goal should be to become the best person you can become, right? Like we say, it's not what you get, it's what you become. So
Right.
at the end of the day, if we're really focused on happiness, joy, and fulfillment, what we're going to do is we're going to be on a path that's going to help us in this growth process, because we're going to be constantly growing, right? We're going to be learning, we're going to be growing, we're going to be sharing, we're going to be serving, we're going to be leading, and hopefully we're going to be inspiring. This is very important. This comes back to energy. Okay. First of all, we know everything is energy, right? Everything's
Right.
energy.
Right.
So you asked, great question. How do we define success to ourselves? And then how do we define legacy? Okay. Always start with finding the thing that you love and have a passion for. Then you have a calling. If you decide to make that your life's work, to develop yourself to the very highest level, if you're willing to put in the time, the energy, and the resources or additional resources, which I call the three great assets, right? We all have time, we all have energy, we all have resources. If we're to bring those to bear on our life's work, our calling, then we are never going to work. We're going to something that compels us, that inspires us, and at the same time will inspire others because we're putting all of our energy into it. And again, this comes down to defining happiness, joy, and fulfillment for you. Now, if you become so good at doing this and you make it to the top, even 10%, but especially if you're in the top 1% of your calling, then you are creating a legacy. Because again, going back to what I just said, you're developing a team of leaders, right? They say 80% of leaders, 80% of leaders will have followers, okay? 80%. 15% of leaders will attract leaders, but only
Right.
5% of leaders, only 5%, will be able to develop leaders. In other words, model themselves through mentoring, through an apprenticeship process to develop leaders. Now, it's not an easy thing to do, but I will tell you, it is definitely worthwhile.
It
I,
is definitely.
I hope that helps.
Yes, yes, yes. It is definitely worthwhile. Now, one last question here I want to understand from you for the audience is you talk about learning, continuous learning. You
Yes.
talk about superpowers. How do I continue to, uh, you know, uh, learn, and at the same time, how do I continue to crystallize my superpower?
Well, it's
Will that get diluted with learning? What is my superpower amidst this continuous learning?
okay. Great question. In my book, The Master's Path: How to Intentionally Create Happiness, Joy, and Fulfillment, I actually talk about this, AJ. I talk
Right,
about taking aim. And of course, AIM is a great acronym, right? And really, what
right,
it comes down to is to assess. First thing is to assess. Second is to improve. And third is to maximize. Okay. Now, I also use the acronym to be attentive, intentional, and mindful. Either way, let's use this acronym to better explain and to answer your question. The first thing I have to do is I have to assess what are my strengths? What am I good at? So my first recommendation to the listeners and or viewers of this podcast is to sit down and take the time to create your top 10 list. What are your top 10 strengths? And then once you've done that, try to define what are your top five from that 10. And then from there, what are your top three? And then from there, what would you say is your top strength? That is your superpower, your
right,
core genius. What are you best at? So now, once you've got that, and this is a process, it's an exercise like anything else. But once you have that, now you can focus in on improving it because we know the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement.
right,
Now we want to maximize it. AIM, maximize the M. How do we maximize that? And there is the quickest way I have found to do this is to model success, is to find those who are already doing it at the very highest level. And then to literally do whatever it takes to apprentice with them, to meet with them, to train with them, to learn from them. And you can do this with books. You can do this online. You can do this by listening to this wonderful podcast. What a great service this is to provide experts at what they do to share with as many possible. Now, clearly, that's what juices me. If I can help anybody to learn, grow, share, serve, lead, and inspire, whether it be building teams, whether it be learning how to manage at a higher level, whatever it is, to build your business personally, professionally, financially, whatever that is, that's what juices me, is helping other people to do that. So I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is much to learn from you about these things, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to learn more from you, about you, from your book. So, what is the best way for them to connect with you, John?
Well, you can you can contact me through my website, Masters Path Consulting. One word, just Masters, Masters, and then Path, no space, Masters Path, then no space consulting, masterspathconsulting.com. Or you can go to www.johnstjames, just put it all together, JOHNSTJAMES.com. Or you can contact me by buying my book. It's available on Amazon, and there's certainly all the information and much more than we've talked about today is in that book, including ways to contact me via email, as well, I believe, by phone. So whatever works best. But I'd love to hear from your followers.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.